that it doesn't really matter that much, right? The only time I could think of, the only time I ever wanted to do it was the Flint, that Flint rezoning. That was the only time I kicked myself afterwards for doing it because there was like 15 people
This
at the top.
conference
Yeah,
will
it was a
now
lot.
be recorded.
And I got really good at names because they rattle off their addresses so fast, and it's like, wait, your name is this. You're on this road. Okay. Luckily, between Mike and Rick and Cameron, they know everybody in DeSoto. So.
Are you messing? You're not messing with the computer, are you?
Mm-mm. You don't even have a keyboard over there. You can't. Yeah. Can't do anything. Hey. It's fine.
Bucket
Yeah.
on your, but I can't find.
Can you send me the Word version of it and I'll look at it?
Yeah.
This is just a meeting minutes. I'll fix it.
Nice work. Well, yeah. All right. Please won't mention anything else. Yeah. Rating upgrade. I heard something. Hey, that's a big deal. You get it. Your mind on this rating goal. I can sell. Yeah, maybe, I think, would be appropriate. I think Patrick was gonna maybe introduce the thing, your resolutions. Hey, Jim, how's it going? Okay, yeah. So we got a stack of docs for the mayor to sign.
Yeah. Thanks for handling it. He's got a whole table full of stuff. Yeah, you'll let me know if I screw something up, so no worries.
They're in a good spot.
Oh yeah, turn off my phone.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to the December 1st DeSoto City Council meeting. We'll start with roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Here.
Daniels.
Here.
Michael.
Here.
Ritter.
Here.
Lane. Here. All are present.
Okay, I would invite you all to please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item tonight will be a public hearing for the expansion of Sunflower Redevelopment Tax Increment Financing District to include an additional 1,866 acres, but excluding land within the Gardner Edgerton School District. Patrick, are you going to introduce this at all?
Yes, just briefly, you'll recall the council previously, I believe in January, thank you, Rob, formed the redevelopment district that's affiliated with the Sunflower property. At that time, we did not either annex or form a district over what's before you tonight. And the main reason for that was at that time, we had an agreement with the city of Gardner that we would not annex beyond the alignment of 127th Street. And after Mike talked to Gardner, they were not comfortable allowing us to go ahead and annex that and make it part of the TIF district. So we went ahead with the annexation of the remainder of the property, except for this portion. Subsequent to that action, the Supreme Court of Kansas issued the decision in City of Olathe versus City of Spring Hill, where the Supreme Court indicated that those types of agreements between cities that were actually signed years and years ago, the Supreme Court indicated that those were not enforceable because you can't bind a future governing body. So after that decision, you've previously annexed this property into the city, and so now expanding the TIF district to cover this ground. Kevin Wimpy, the city's bond counsel, is here if you have any other questions, but
I might save Kevin Wimpy's comments for when we take the item up during the, and just open the public hearing now, if that
yep, makes
council's
sense.
agreeable to that. Okay. With that background, I will now officially open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak to this matter, please go to the podium, state your name and address. We do have a 4-minute time limit for comments, so anyone wishing to speak to this item regarding the TIF expansion, come forward and address the council. Okay.
New home construction with homes at Cedar Crest, so they're in the area and so many homes within DeSoto. Many of you may or may not know that DeSoto has a SIP home, structural engineered panel home. I can't remember the address, John, but Murray Parsons used to own it. And we sold it for him. That's when I first learned about structural engineered panel homes, how efficient they are, how economical they are for the homeowner. Their utilities go way down. The panels are how wide? And so,
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. Is this related to the TIF?
yes, so my question is,
Okay.
I see that affordable housing is very not available, and we have these 4,000 plus people coming to the area. I was wondering if any of the land in the TIF district would be open to builders. Would there be affordable housing area? I'm talking like 300,000 to 250 for 3-bedroom, 2-bath home that people can purchase, rent, and so that there could be homes close to their job, as well as build up a place for all of these people to live that would be close to their work.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. Probably I would suggest that maybe you would reach out to the city through an email or something, and we can respond to you. I think if you want to have a conversation about that, that would be an appropriate
But
channel.
just in general, will there be places for builders to build?
Yeah.
Or is it all locked up within certain people, or
not a back and forth right now, so it's just a time to receive comment, but we can, we'll share the, what we know about the developer's plans, with you, any other time you'd like.
Okay.
But we do appreciate your comments.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna officially close. Later in the agenda, under item 4C, no, 4, yeah, yes, 4C. Okay. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have approval of the minutes of the council meeting of November 1st, or 17th, 2022, approval of pay ordinance 939, and approval of ordinance 2556, amending building code related to sizes of septic tanks. Anyone have any item they would wish to discuss further on the consent agenda, or would someone like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Lane? Yes. Ritter?
Yes.
Hanamichael?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Murdoch?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item 2 is call to public. Members of the public are welcome to use this time to comment about any matter related to tonight's agenda. The comments that are discussed under call to public may or may not be acted on by the count. Whoops, that was your time. You see, you gave up a whole couple of minutes there. Sorry about that. There's a 4-minute time limit. Would anyone wishing to address the council, please go to the podium. Mr. Zimmerman. Approach the podium and state your name and address, please.
Harold Zimmerman, 34055 Western 6th Terrace, Kissimmee, Kansas. I come before you with some
Conference will now be recorded.
information I need. We're getting more new signage for different places. Not all the interesting and bigger festival. And some of them have seen concept. It's a concrete structure, no passenger lane. It has, if you're familiar with the Dora song, this one is the city of Dora. It's back, but the thing is monstrous, but it's so far away from the highway. That's the idea. It has a tree that has lights behind it, and it really looks so neat. Well, I think that the idea would be appropriate for the River West Park. DeSoto was founded in Kansas with the idea that it could become an important shipping port in the 1870s. 35 different steamboats came past DeSoto transporting cargo and settlers to the west. Not all of them came back. That many of them went upstream. So, the idea of a steamboat is cool. That continued when the water was back until the railroads decided to get it considered non-navigable and the railroad division. So I just, some of you have presented this before, and my final concept that I want to share with you is, if this is approved sometime here in the future, I will make $10,000 donation.
Thank you, Darrell. I would share, I believe signage is on the Parks CIP.
Yes, it is.
I think it is, so.
Yep, it is.
This will be taken up in 2023.
Yeah, it was actually funded for 22, and it's a project we didn't get to this year, so
Yeah.
it's still on the funding list for 23. Now that's general signage for our
Parks.
parks. Yeah,
So-
obviously.
Did you hear that, Darrell? We have a project pending for the park signage we coming up this year, so appropriate timing. Make sure that the Parks Board and Jay is aware of your concept and your offer as well, for your generous offer for a donation. Thank you. Anyone else under call to public? All right, we will move on. Item 3 is old business. We do not have any, so we'll go to item 4A, consider contract amendment for design.
Yes, council, you might, I think you'll remember that we are currently in the construction phase of rehabilitation of 2 of our 6 wells that provide raw water to the treatment plant. I'll just show the well map here that's included in your packet. Those 2 wells, we hired GBA last year to do the design work on them, essentially a complete reconstruction of them. They're adjacent to the existing wells. 6 and 3 on this map are currently being redone, and that project is about half done at this point. With the outlook for expansion on the treatment, further renovations of the well field to develop more raw water supply to deliver to the plant. So what we suggest proceeding with at this time is the rehab of 2 additional wells. Those would be on the north side of the river, wells 8 and 9. There on the map on the north side of the Kansas River. We would like to proceed with that and essentially issue a change order to the construction or to the design contract with GBA, which is the item for consideration this evening, and then eventually possibly issuing a change order to the contractor who is performing the improvements after we have the design and we get that pricing from the contract. That'll be a decision for another time. We'll bring that back, obviously, to the council before proceeding. But what we're asking is your approval on the contract amendment for GBA this evening, so that we can get the design work done and proceed with the rehab of 2 additional wells. Funding for this effort, essentially long-term funding, all of our efforts for this will be reimbursed with the funding plan for the plant expansions. Later tonight, you'll hear about a successful bond sale we had earlier this afternoon for over $12 million toward that aim. And so this work would come from that bond sale, from the proceeds from that bond sale. So, asking for your approval tonight on engineering services for George Butler Associates in the additional amount of $7,400 for design of the 2 additional wells.
Okay. Questions from council? If there's no discussion, someone ready to make a
I'll
motion?
make a motion that the council approve contract amendment 3 with George Butler Associates in the amount of $78,400.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Michael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane. Yes. Motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you, council.
Item 4B, consider necessary resolutions and ordinance. 2022A, 2022B for financing of city capital improvement projects.
Mayor, I do think it'd be appropriate to allow Kevin Wimpy, the city bond counsel, and Jim Pritchard, city finance advisor, to address the council on these items, as
Okay.
the sale was just today.
All right.
So the first resolution is adopting a master capital improvement plan that come under the statute. And it allows you to pick projects out of that plan. So that's the first resolution. The final four actions are an ordinance and a resolution each for the issuance of the 2022A and the 2022B bond. These are more formulaic and sort of typical actions for cities to issue their obligations. An ordinance authorizing issuance, and then a lengthy resolution that provides for a lot more boilerplate details about bond security and should be somewhat familiar from past bond issues. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the actions. If not now, I think I'll turn it to Jordan and provide
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, Jim Pritchard from Tony Gamble here. So I've been working with Kevin and city staff for the last several months to put the two bond sales together. And we sold the bonds today, which means that we locked interest rates in. Series 2022A is for the water and sewer expansion for Panasonic. And you will see quarterly jump on that bond sale today. And the Series 2022B is for other city projects, water tower, street improvements, things like that. We see two bids for that one. Robert Baird was the winning bidder for both of those. We were very happy with the results. The rates came in quite a bit better than we thought. Certainly much better than what we thought when we first started looking at numbers back in September. It just turned out that this last month, rates really fell dramatically after a really tough 2022. So we were pretty lucky to find a nice window in the market to get these bond sales done. So very happy with the results. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd just add to this, as we do with all of our bond issues, the larger ones, we did get a rating from Standard & Poor's on this issue, and that Jim and Columbia Capital and Kevin were able to help us with that rating, gather the information, and tell the narrative mostly about Panasonic's positive future financial impacts on the outlook for the city. And as a result of that work, our bond rating actually went up. This $12 million bond is the biggest bond DeSoto's. It's quite a large bond for a city of our size. And the outlook is for additional bonding needs over the next several years. But even with that, the positive financial impact that will be realized by the city over time by Panasonic and other related developments compelled S&P to raise our bond rating from a AA. So that I can't imagine we can get much better with some of the the calculations that go into that bond rating. One of them's population that we can't change. Some of these things we just can't change. So very positive outcome on that. We're very pleasantly surprised by that.
So what rate did we get?
That's
AA.
no interest.
Oh,
rate
interest rates.
on the bonds. That's
Yeah,
the
if
big
we were
question.
hearing what's really
we
good,
were
we
happy,
got a
but
great window, what rate did we get?
One thing I forgot to mention the rating discussion, but one of the things they specifically mentioned in their upgrade is their confidence in management to deal with the Panasonic development. So, very good words on that. With respect to the interest rate, for the 2022A, this is a 30-year transaction, 4.2% roughly. 2022B, a little bit shorter of a loan, 4.07%.
Good. Thank you. Any other questions from council? So I think our first, we'll take these in order. Our first resolution is Resolution 1093, adopting the Master Capital Improvement Plan and financing thereof. Paperwork, someone wants to.
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 1093 as written.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane. Yes. Motion carries.
Okay. Item 2 is ordinance 2557. Someone like to make a motion regarding ordinance 2557?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 2557 as written.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and then part 2 of that would be to adopt resolution 1094.
I'll make a motion, we approve or adopt resolution 1094 as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Our next action would be to adopt ordinance 2558.
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2558 as written.
I'll second that one.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. And part 2 of that is adopt resolution 1095.
I'll make a motion, we adopt resolution 1095 as written.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Lane.
Yes.
Hanamichael.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. By my accounting, that's it for that item, correct?
Yep.
All right. Item C, consider ordinance 2559, expanding TIF redevelopment of recently annexed Sunflower Redevelopment District. Introduced earlier on the hearing.
Yeah, Kevin, I don't know, do you want
Anything
to
you
add
wanna add?
anything?
Sure, I'll be brief on this. Patrick gave a good description of the annexation process earlier at the outset of the meeting. The TIF district is a different procedure, one on the inside versus outside of the city. So having an annex allows the city to expand the TIF district as this around going there earlier. You recall the TIF district was established earlier this year. 2 TIF plans have been passed. The Panasonic first TIF plan, we decided that. You'll recall lots of procedure with TIF district and formation with notices, resolutions, elevations, and so forth. TIF access for the procedure, but also expanding the TIF district similarly sort of repeats the process of providing notice. You recall a resolution adopted a month plus ago, called a public hearing tonight, held earlier, and so now consideration of orders proceed to expand the TIF district resolution.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions for council on this?
And the expansion doesn't have the provision for veto authority by the school district or the county?
Good question, Councilmember Deep. The language, the TIF Act establishment of the TIF district provides an explicit veto for county and school district, 30-day period of the public hearing. The subparts of the TIF Act that anticipate different modifications to TIF districts, including expansion, that explicit language is absent. So it's written differently, where, to my knowledge, there's no attorney general opinion of case law interpreting this provision, but I can tell you the explicit veto right is not present in this.
That was my understanding from watching the county board and also Patrick, but I'd ask it.
Okay. Any other questions? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adopt ordinance 2559 as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Ritter,
Yes.
Lane. Yes. Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Kevin. Item D, consider ordinance 2560, amending city purchase policy to provide on-call engineering services and alternate delivery methods for public projects.
Yes, council. As you all know, part of the city code, we have a formal purchasing policy that the city follows for goods and also services. There are exceptions within that policy. The purpose of this ordinance is twofold. One is to include in our purchase policy the on-call engineering services that we've been using. So we thought it was appropriate to amend the policy to explicitly provide for the on-call engineering services. And then secondly, along with that, we wanted to include language that gave the city flexibility to have alternate ways to engage engineers and contractors, because as you know, for years, and the general practice is at least for construction, you go with the low bidder. And as has been discussed, I know Jessica addressed the council a few meetings ago and explained that that's not always an efficient way to go. So these methods that are set out in the memo and now included in the city purchasing policy provide the city flexibility to use those on any given project. So essentially, the thought here is that Chet and Mike, in speaking to consultants, engineers, contractors, would decide what method is most suitable, and then, of course, would make that recommendation to you as the governing body, and you would have the flexibility to approve that approach. Did want to give Jessica a shout out for helping us with these methods. The fancy circles in my memo came from Jessica, and I think they're helpful to just sort of diagram out the methods we're talking about. So recommendation would be to adopt ordinance 2560 to implement changes to the purchase policy. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from council regarding ordinance 2?
No, I just say it's great to see us modernize our practices to allow for these alternatives, because as we've seen, there's a variety of different ways that we're going to want to go about accomplishing some of our capital projects. So glad to see us be a front runner on our procurement processes.
And we have implemented, to some degree and certain degree on smaller projects, a design-build approach without having appropriately codified here in our ordinances. But
Also, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 2560 as written.
I'll second the motion.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion of the motion? Roll call, please.
Lane. Yes. Ritter,
Yes.
Hanamichael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item E, consider ordinance 2561, amending city building code to provide for a footing foundation permit separate from a building permit for structures with a building envelope exceeding 1,500,000 square feet.
Yes, council, as part of trying to get our arms around the Panasonic project, the enormity of that structure that is planned, we recognize that it was going to be very difficult to be able to get all of the planning approvals approved prior to the time that they need to start with their footing and foundation. So the purpose of this amendment is obviously it's limited to very large structures, but it would allow Panasonic to begin with their footing and foundation work once a permit under this new article is issued. They are, as mentioned in the memo, in doing that work, they are doing it at risk because they won't have all the zoning approvals. So if it turns out that, the footing and foundation is not consistent with the zoning approvals, then obviously they would have to change that. So with that, happy to answer any questions, but recommend adoption of ordinance 2561.
Questions from council?
So I'm just curious, how did the 1.5 million square foot threshold come about?
Well, and that was my question as well.
Chet, I think.
That was.
Chet, it's
We'll blame
on
it.
you.
We'll blame it on Chet.
So, I've worked in, a couple other municipalities, and the most recent building that was pretty large size was 1.1 million square feet that I worked on, or worked with the developer, and that didn't require any special phasing of the permits, so we kind of felt like the 1.5 is kind of a trigger where we see a very unique project that would exceptions.
Okay. Just based on your experience then?
Yep.
Yeah, all right.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Any comments or a motion to adopt?
Well, I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2561 as presented at the meeting tonight.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hunter-Michael,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Lane.
Yes.
Ritter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Item F, consider recommendation to proceed with alternative delivery methods for water and sewer plant expansion projects.
Mayor and members of the council, on October 6th, we'd mentioned this earlier, you'd heard from representatives from HDR and GBA about expansions to the water treatment plant, the sewer treatment plant, to prepare for the Southwest Growth Area expansions and redevelopment. So kind of take them separate. HDR worked on the water treatment plant, and, I don't know how much detail they got into on October 6th, but it's a pretty straightforward design. We under the roof now, we have the capacity to produce 8 million gallons a day. This expansion is proposing to take it to 4 million gallons a day. So there's no reconstruction, no new constructed except a lime silo. So essentially it's replacing the existing equipment, upgrading, we've got some valves and valving that needs to be upgraded and automated, but so it's a pretty straightforward project, and that's why we would recommend that we do a construction manager at risk. Basically, that allows we would hire the designer, and then we would bring a contractor in early in the process. But it also allows, with these long lead times, for the contractor to start ordering equipment before everything's completely done. We've got some lead times on some of this stuff that's 18 to 24 months. So also in the vein of getting the project moving forward, we would recommend that design contract would be with HDR, and we would negotiate that contract and bring it back to you for consideration at a later date. I guess it's also kind of important to know that HDR was selected as a process as an on-call. It's not they've done a lot of the work on it, and we've been very comfortable with the work they've done to date. So regarding the water treatment plant, the method we would recommend is construction manager at risk and awarding the contract to HDR. For the wastewater treatment plant, I think what was presented on October 3rd, there is a very straightforward solution, not a whole lot of infrastructure, but there's also an opportunity to look at, okay, as we continue to build and redevelop out in the southwest growth area, do we need to look at different types of treatment? You know, is expanding and continuing to grow with the treatment plant we've got, is that the most cost-effective solution? And so we feel like there's some more creative solutions and evaluating that needs to be done on that project. So we would recommend progressive design build on that. So that process would be that we would retain an owner's agent, which is an engineer, and then we would do a competitive qualifications-based selection for a design builder. And then our owner's agent, our staff, and the design builder would interact to refine the design till we, you know, get it constructed. So George Butler has been our engineer, owner's representative on this so far, and they performed well as also. So we would recommend extending that contract with George Butler to continue as our owner's rep through design and the construction phases. There is one thing I wanted to point out in the memo that I sent. I said, and it is kind of typical that you'll get the owner's agent will take you to 30% design on this project because there's a possibility of going in a completely different direction of a, you know, apologize, as far as a completely different type of plan or treatment. We probably would not get to the 30% on this, so their contract would probably not go much further than what they've gone right now. So it's evaluating, we want to be able to take a step back and evaluate the process more than just refining a 30% design. So with that, I guess our next action would be to come back with a contract extension for GBA, HDR, and then after we get down the road a little ways, we'd come back with a contract for the design build team and the construction for the CMAR, the contractor.
Okay. Questions from council?
What do you see as the time frame, particularly on the sewer treatment plant? Because, you know, you say you're going to just kind of hold on design right now or not proceed farther, but then you'll go into the selection process for the progressive design builder, right? What do you see that time frame taking?
Between now and
Selection.
So GBA will have, you know, there's still a little bit of work for them to do. You know, they need to prepare a report and, you know, what's been evaluated to date. So I would anticipate we could wrap that up in probably 6 to 8 weeks and then go out for and advertise for the design builder. So by the time we submit, you know, put the RFQ on the street, select a team, and then get them back to you, to the council for approval, that's probably another 8 weeks. So I would say, you know.
So you're out at late March, April, something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
When we go for it, okay.
Yeah.
First. Any questions from other council people? Seems to be a logical approach. Any action, what action do you need from us?
No action tonight, just
Just jumping up and down and
Yeah.
say,
Head nods.
heck no, if we disagreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Looking for head nods?
I also wanted to thank our HDR team and GBA team who are here in the audience tonight. You know, they jumped in. They understand the uniqueness of the situation, the urgency of a lot of interested parties providing a lot of input, requiring a lot of coordination. So a lot probably hand-holding with this one that it might not be the same on a typical project they might have. Been really impressed with the group, the teams that we have in place, and Chet stepped right in here and is taking the lead on it. So I appreciate your efforts out there, and Chet's too.
Okay.
So this is seems like step number 1, but this is step 3 or 4 already. So there's more to come.
All right.
All right, our next item is an executive session. We need 15 minutes under Cora's personnel exemption.
So, Mayor, Councilman Daniels will make a motion to recess into executive session at 7:42 for 15 minutes to discuss city administrator performance evaluation pursuant to non-elected personnel KSA 754319B1, with the open meeting resuming in city council chambers at 7:47 or 7:57.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll be back.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Got my notes. All right.
Uh-oh.
My notebook.
I didn't bring anything to work from.
You got handouts?
I thought we were getting kicked out like we did last time.
Oh, do we have the executive session in here?
Yeah, last year they had it. I don't remember when we sat it because they went back, came back.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Oh, no worries. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Cool. How are you? Hey, Charles.
I got to do a left hand. My had surgery, so I got maybe it a little.
I was actually wondering how.
Well, this range of motion is fine as long as I'm not raised. But
You got that fair skin like me. I've had a little thing behind my ear, had to get removed.
I was trying to figure out though. He was explaining to me. I was like, how do you get it? It seems like the natural shade, but
It's all that sunbathing. You lawn chair.
That's what I was missing.
after I got out of the service, I did roofing and construction for a couple of years before going to college. I would get burned on my back, big blisters. I don't have a spot on me in all places under my arm. So yeah, odd thing, but I was the guinea pig for the plastic surgeon. Yeah,
So what's HDR stand for?
So it's Henningsen, Durham, and Richardson.
Are all those guys still alive? Or?
No, that was. So it originally we started in 1917. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Founded in Omaha, but we're now global. But it was a.
Yeah.
And started out just doing civil projects and growing and growing.
Or see you guys both from this area? Like
Yeah, I grew up in Nevada, Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually from Michigan, but I've lived
Okay.
2 years. Other than the time I've lived overseas.
I went to undergrad at Missouri State, which was SMSU. And I used to date a gal from Nevada, but I'm sure she was much older than you.
Well, my parents have been there. My dad grew up in Kansas City and moved down to Nevada in the 50s.
Okay.
So my parents have been there. They were out in the East Coast for a while. They've been there since 70, back in Nevada since 70.
Oh, wow.
It's been a long time. My brothers and I grew up, all my cousins, everybody's from Nevada.
Awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Okay, guys.
It was good to
All right. See ya.
in person.
Yeah, we'll.
We're still
Hey, guys. All right. See ya. Yeah, we'll.
we're still live.